All right, guys. So let's talk about the description. We've talked about the principles of the description on the last webinar that we had. Now we're going to dive a little deeper into it. So let's get started. So on the last webinar, we went over these rules. In regards to your description, again, just real briefly, because I went into this in great detail on the last webinar. But you only want to write about product only information in your description. You want to make sure it's very, very clear and concise. You want to keep it under 2,000 characters, which is extremely important. A tip that we gave you last time was the description when it matches the photo and you're telling the story about your product. You can do that within the photos, like we always talk about, because you want your photos to be digital sale closers, but match the content that you write about your description, match it up against your photos. Look at your main image, look at your second image, your third image, and tell the story within the description, the same story that you're telling in your photos. And if you do that, your description comes out very professional, and it reads really, really well. And some of the stuff you don't want to do, no testimonials or quotes in your description. That's against Amazon's terms of service anyways. You don't want to do that. And it just doesn't look professional when you're doing that. No promoting anything at all except your actual product. And I went over a quick example of that last week when I was going through these rules. But basically, you don't want to cross promote another product within your description to try to, let people know about it. Again, if Amazon sees that you're doing that, they'll tell you that you're going to have to update your description. You can't do things like that. And then it's always important to put your main or budgeted keyword early on, and your description must be in HTML format, or if you have the ability to use enhanced brand content, you can do that as well. I went over all the details on all these rules last week. So you check out the webinar from last week. And I believe that was the 12/26 webinar. So check that out when you get a chance. Let's go on to the next one. So let's talk about the process for the description. So when you write out your description, most of the time it looks exactly like what you see here on the bottom. It looks like a paragraph, right? Well, the reason it looks like that is because it doesn't have HTML code in it yet. So I'm going to actually go over to the workbook that we use right now, and let me show you a few things here. Okay, so when I was preparing for the webinar tonight, I put in the description for our steamer. So when we created the description, like I said, this is what it looks like, right? It looks like a paragraph. Now, after you create it in the HTML format, this is what it looks like on the right-hand side here. And I actually have a site that I'm going to take you to in a second to help you put it in this type of format. But if you wanted to, you could do it manually. We give you all the codes right down here at the bottom, and see how we've got these different HTML codes here at the beginning of sentences, at the end of sentences. All this does is it puts it into a certain format. So when you copy and paste it into the back end of Seller Central, when it comes out on your Amazon.com detail page, it looks like this. Let me show you exactly what it looks like.
Yeah, while you're doing that, Mike, also the rules are there that we talk about, just kind of a one-stop shop. But one of the things that's important to remember, ideally, everyone wants to be trademarked and have enhanced brand content, which is really, really sharp and shows even a more professional perspective. This is right now, if you're not enhanced brand content, you don't have all that fancy stuff, or you're not brand registered, this is the best way to do it. But keep in mind, there's a couple things I just wanted to say. That your title drives about 60 some odd % of your ranking, then your bullets, and then your description. So description is still very important, but it also gives you more time to just talk about your product, and you don't want to stuff it with keywords just for the sake of stuffing it with keywords. Talk about your product, but know that it does have an impact on your ranking. So anyways, go ahead.
Yep, absolutely. So guys, this is what it looks like. Like you saw the HTML format that I just showed you on the workbook. So once you copy and paste that into the back end of Amazon Seller Central and you go to your Amazon.com detail page, this is exactly what it looks like when it's in HTML format. Now, if you were to just copy and paste that paragraph into the back end of Amazon Seller Central, it would not come out like this. It would literally look just like the paragraph that you copy and pasted into the back end. So as you can see, it's very, very important to put it in this type of format. It just looks way more professional. And remember, one of the rules was it needs to be very clear and concise. And when it's in this format, it definitely is. When it's in that paragraph format, it's hard to read what you have in there. And it's just, don't make it hard for someone to read. When it's in this type of format, much easier to read. So let me show you this site that we found. Hold on one second, let me pull it open. That can help you build it. So this is the site here, sellerapp.com. And this part of their site is free. There's no cost for this. So if you go over here to sellerapp.com and you click on create HTML product description, you'll get this little section here.
I'll put it in the chat box too.
Perfect, perfect. And actually, what I'm going to do is, I was doing this earlier when I was playing around with it. I want to show you guys something here. I'm gonna make like a split screen. Let me show you guys this real quick, because this was.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you too. I'm not gonna lie, guys. I don't know what. I've not looked at the tools in this site. I just wanted this. This is just a really cool free tool, as far as just for the HTML. I'm sure this has some pretty cool pieces of information. I think I looked at it in the past, but I'm not going to vouch for any other resources on this page except for this.
Yeah, and I played around with this too for quite a long time just to get familiar with it, and it truly does work. So real quick before I start typing a couple things here, I want to show you guys. See how it puts the HTML code right in here? Let me get rid of this. Hold on. See how it puts the HTML code right here, and it actually puts it right in there for you. So check this out. I'm going to show you guys a few things on exactly how this works. So I'm just copying this right from here. So fanatical engineering, design, and research has gone, and I'll just copy in a few words here. You'll see what I'm saying. Has gone into making this handheld. Let's see here. Close Steam. See how it comes out on the other side there? Isn't that awesome? And then it puts in the actual code. But so watch this. So one thing you do need to do is, when you're writing your description in here, you'll want to make sure that you just follow the different icons up here. So for example, this in our example in the presentation, this part of the description was bold, right? So they have an option here where you can bold it. And look what happened when I bolded it. It gave the it put it in there automatically. You see that? So if I wanted to see how we have check marks in here, so watch this. So I put a period here, and then if I wanted to add a check mark, so let's say that I wanted to add a check mark here, for example. Copied to clipboard. Let's make sure our cursor's there. Let's paste it in. There we go. See how it adds it right in there for you, so you don't have to look around for that check mark and all that. And it adds the code and everything right there. So you could see, you could go through your entire description and just write it out. And just make sure wherever you want like it to break between paragraphs, you would actually have to hit enter and bring it down to the second line, and you would have to start typing there. So if you wanted breaks between this little paragraph and then this bullet point, for example, just hit enter, bring it down a line. So once you get done with it and you have it completely in HTML format, you could then copy it from here. Let me show you this. So copy it from here, and then there's another free tool here, free website, that you can actually paste it in here. So I just pasted it right from there with the HTML code in there, and then I'm going to hit run. And look, it shows me exactly what it looks like. So you can get an idea of what it's going to look like before you, save and approve it within Amazon Seller Central. That way you know what it's going to look like when it comes out on your Amazon.com detail page. So those are just two ways to help you. Number one, write the description in HTML format. And then number two, this tool helps you see what it looks like after it's been written. And like I said, you can use this tool to help you here, or I mean, you could follow along with our example. Let me go back to the worksheet. Hold on a minute. You could follow along with our worksheet here. And as you can see, we've got all the HTML code right here. I mean, you could literally just like go like this, for example, and write in your own content, right? And just keep the code exactly where we have it. And I've actually recommended that to students in the past, and that's exactly what they've done. Or you can use a tool like I just showed you, and you could do it that way too. Whatever's easier for you. But the bottom line is, it needs to be in HTML format, and I would definitely double check it. So just to show you what the whole description looks like once you take it over to that tool, let me show you this. And I looked at this just before we got on the call. So I'm going to delete this. Hold on a minute. Delete. And then I'm going to put the whole thing in here. Well, the whole thing minus the sentence I just deleted. So see, look at that. It looks exactly like it did on the presentation that we just showed you. So that's exactly how you would put your description in HTML format. And let me go back to the presentation. Hold on a minute. So there you go. See, looks exactly the same. So let's go on to the next slide. Okay, and then yeah, the next slide here just shows you the same HTML codes that I just showed you on the worksheet. Again, if you wanted to do it manually, you could definitely do it on your own. Once you do it a few times, it's pretty easy. And then this is just showing you the same description with the HTML format. And again, guys, this presentation will be uploaded with this webinar recording, so you'll have access to, you'll have access to this. So again, if you wanted to just remove our content, put your content in its place, you could do that.
Hey, Mike, a few people, like 4 people, have asked about the. I didn't put it in there because I don't know what it is. That second website that you check it, see what it looks like.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I'll put that as soon as I'm done here. I'll put it in while you're talking.
Okay, cool.
Yep. And then again, as you guys saw, this is the finished results right here. And yeah, again, the bottom line is just make sure it's clear and concise. Make sure that you're following our rules here. That's really, really important. And if you do, you'll have a really well optimized description that will help you sell your product.